Peterson. Welcome. Donuts and Discussion, a collective reflection on law enforcement wellness is my title. Touching a little bit about my position paper on law enforcement wellness, but in a fun, seriously light direction. Okay, so today what I'd like to share with you is a little bit about me and what brought me here, of course, to the HT program, my learning journey, what Donuts and Discussion is all about, now what, and any questions that you have. So a little bit about me. For 7.5 years, I was a police officer and had a lot of career experiences, a lot, worked in a variety of roles. So I worked in the great city of Duluth in the great old state of Minnesota here, yes. I was a patrol officer for the first few years of my career. I moved on to become a mounted patrol officer, so I was riding a horse, doing a lot of the same things, but a lot more community engagement. Had my own trading card, yes. It was a high part of my life. I did get to also become a mounted patrol training officer, which was really great. In addition to, while I was working on the street, I was training new recruits in the car. So this was a whole new take on life, training new recruits on horses. Not new guys, new, that'd be a little scary for them, but new guys to horses. This was actually our first time out on the street of Esco, Minnesota, if you know, which is like this big compared to Duluth, but it was an exciting moment for those guys who have been inside of the ranch for a couple months. So a lot of roles that I got to be part of during my career. I also went through a lot of career experiences that I think brought me to today. One, because it's just fun. I got to pose for a calendar holding a coyote. That was fun. It was good, interesting times. You never know what people are going to ask you to do. It's kind of the weird part of policing. But I also, because I helped create our program for training new mounted patrol officers, we received, my partners and I, who started the unit, received a commendation for starting the horse unit and then growing it through education and bringing new people in, which was a cool part in the career. Unfortunately, what comes with policing is a lot of other experiences which aren't as glamorous as fun as holding a coyote or getting a commendation, which for me included being part of several critical incidents as an officer, and then also, because my husband is an officer, as being a police spouse, including going through officer-involved shootings, critical incidents with coworkers, getting on national news because of things that they did and you happen to be there at the time. That makes it really fun. And also, because there's so much trauma that does happen in law enforcement, it's bound to be that your fellow officers, your peers, will have career experiences that will change them, affect their mental health, and then on the other side, they have issues in their personal lives. Those types of things can really form your career and change what paths you're going to take, as I'll kind of touch on later. One last thing that I want to talk about from my career experiences was near the end of my career, I was tasked with doing a SWOT analysis, not SWOT analysis, but SWOT, W-S-O-T analysis. Much less interesting on the street and more office work. So what I did was talk to 200 of my fellow peers and ask them, what's great about your job, about here, working here? What isn't great about working here? What can we do about it? And it's hard to see a little bit, but this whiteboard was about this big, and these were all the things and how they were connected. It was a very interesting journey and experience to talk to my people and look at how different pieces intersected in issues that they saw in the department. At the time, I had no idea what to do with that. I drew that, and I was like, I'm done. I don't know, there's gotta be someone who's paid more than me that can figure that out. And so, having presented that mess to my supervisors and their supervisors, right? I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do with that. And that kind of left me at a stance, because I didn't like that I didn't know what to do with that and where to go. At that time, our department decided to do some strategic planning, which is where I met Kathy, the front, my business partner. And I saw a new path for myself emerging. I knew at the time that I needed a new door, but I didn't know what the door looked like. I didn't know how big it was, what shape, size, what color it was, how I was gonna even get through it. I just knew I needed a different direction. which thankfully this started for me. This pushed me to ask, what can I do? Where can I move forward? And in the end, I decided it was not in policing. I enjoyed helping my community and helping them through their various issues, problems, concerns. But what I really saw was my place was helping my peers and my coworkers and helping them become more well. So in 2017, I took a leap and I decided to move here to the wonderful cities area. And I took my experiences, and in an interesting turn of events, I decided to go into fitness training and health coaching. Something completely different. I thought, what could I do that's not quite as traumatic, not quite as heavy on the soul, the heart, and the brain here, and do something that's fun and interesting and engaging and something that people smile at you when you come to work. That's the fun part. So, fitness training and coaching, I decided to go with that for a little while. I also joined the Human Development Program. My business partner, Kathy, had suggested that because I wanted to further my education and learn more on wellness, which I thought law enforcement wellness is what I want to learn about moving forward, this program came up, and I'm glad that I'm here. I'm glad I took this journey. The other part was getting into organizational development consulting, which I didn't see at the time. I saw, but I didn't foresee in the grand scheme of how was that going to change my worldview. And what I really found through all of these three things, fitness coaching was really fun, and then I had a child, and it didn't quite fit into the life cycle of things. But I did learn a lot about the physical body and what it's capable of, what's needed to be healthy physically, all of those pieces. The health coaching also bringing in the mental health side of things, and that coaching, that health isn't just about eat carrots and go to the gym. It's not all of it. We'll talk about that more later, but it's so much more than that. And then the Human Development Program here, of course, broadening my scope of things. But I took all of these pieces and I ended up coming up with employee wellness was my sweet spot, right in here. And what does that mean? Specifically for me, my big interest is in law enforcement wellness, but in the grand scheme, what does employee wellness mean? So through the Human Development Program, I got to investigate my passion a little bit around law enforcement wellness, which I broadened out to employee wellness. But the journey took me in some interesting directions. I think somebody mentioned earlier, they took a lot of delicious independent studies. I would second that, yes. Very interesting courses. Purpose, Meaning, and Uncertainty, which wasn't an independent study, Jim's class. And that was fabulous and took me in all sorts of different directions. One of the two classes that I think completely changed my mindset of how I was doing things. Performance, Perception, and Cognition, which was a look at how people perceive actions and how quickly they can engage, how quickly they can decide on what they're going to do, which is very important in policing. You have to decide really quick. And a lot of processes in the brain can interfere with that. Mindfulness. I decided at one point, I'm looking at so much on stress. Well, what do we do about it? How do we look at stress and how do we deal with stress? So I actually put myself to task and worked on doing mindfulness practice every day for 30 days. And I'll tell you, I married that with looking at different studies on mindfulness and what people say are the purported benefits. What do we get out of mindfulness? And I found them to be true. Once I had sustained practice, I was very intrigued by the results that I found in myself. And then Authentic and Courageous Leadership, second to last one I'll talk about, was another in-person course that I took. That was the second course I would say that changed a lot of how I perceive myself now, my place in the world. I love when you were talking before, I had the gal talking about who am I and what is my place here. That was really important, both those classes. And the last one, Creative Writing. Never thought I would do that. But at one point, I hit a juncture this last winter where I said, I need to go off in a different direction and unlock a part of my brain that I'm not using. I'm not harnessing my creative potential here, and I need to find a way to do that. And so I took some in-person classes in Minneapolis on creative writing and trying to go in a different direction and broaden myself and write, and it's fabulous. New and interesting paths. So we bring us to almost to today. last summer, I took the writing the position paper class, and I had a wonderful peer, Anne, who's not here right now. She suggested, I didn't know where I wanted to go. Do I want to talk about generational differences? I don't know. Do I want to talk about something over here? I don't know. And she said, what about if you wrote about cops and wellness, and you did something like from donuts to, and what starts with D, that is a vegetable or a fruit? Nothing fun. Nothing fun that we could use that was really smooth. So I wanted to say from donuts to something magical. And dates, dragon fruit, damson, plum, dill, just none of it really worked. So my paper ended up being more, it wasn't as fun-gitchy. But today, it helped me, it inspired me to write not only my position paper, but what I'm talking about today, donuts and discussion. And thank you for partaking in the donuts as well. So what is donuts and discussion? For colloquium, I decided to convene a few small groups of current and retired officers to talk about special topics in law enforcement wellness and their thoughts. It wasn't, I wanted it to be loosely structured, allow for a lot of great discussion, because you can give cops a task, it's really great, they'll finish it, but you won't get the depth. So I wanted it just to be, let's hear, what do you want? What do you want to talk about? So the 3 small groups I convened. What's needed in law enforcement now as far as wellness goes? What's important to reach retirement? What do you need to do throughout your career to be well and reach retirement and actually enjoy retirement? Because I don't have the absolute statistic, but at one point in time at least, they said that if you reached the 6-month mark after you retired as a cop, like you survived, you were alive, you were doing good. So, and then it was 18 months, and I'm not sure where it is now, but it's the mortality rate for officers once they retire is short compared to the general population. And the last, what's key for women in law enforcement as far as wellness goes? So here was the plan. This is what I envisioned for donuts and discussion. Bring donuts. Thank you, George, for the recommendation on the best donut guide in the Twin Cities. Eat donuts. Happy, happy, happiness. We're eating donuts and we're having great discussion. That was my plan. And guess what? No one wanted the donuts. I brought donuts and no one ate them. And I went, no. So I thought, okay, I'm really proud of these people. This was not a test. This was not a test. I'm really proud, but I have to stay my course. So what did I do? I ate donuts. I went to donut shops around the cities instead and did a little reflection after hearing the discussions, a little reflection of my own on what we talked about. So, Granny Donut in West St. Paul, if you've never been, they have the best apple fritters ever. I'm kind of an apple fritter connoisseur, my favorite. Yo-Yo Donuts in Hopkins, I did not eat all of these, I promise. I had a few donut holes, they were amazing. And they also had a lot of really interesting donuts. Cardigan Donuts, which you're sampling today, I had one of their vanilla, coconut, caramel, delicious things, and it was really good. And I stimulated my brain for a little reflection time. So, reflections, hearing about that now. So Wellness Now, I had a group of 2 officers and their chaplain, which is really interesting because you'll find in a lot of departments there are chaplains who will assist with the officers, but usually they're more in an assistive role where they're going to go out into the community if someone has a death in their family and they need, and the help from the cops just isn't doing it. They need a religious official, thank you Jim, there to give them some more guidance in that sense. That's a lot of the chaplain's role.